I have here a Model 410 Junior running the version 1.5 JNIOR operating system. And this unit is on the network. Now, while today we're behind a router, and you really can't get to this unit from the open network, there are times where you might need to connect your Junior to the internet and provide access from remote locations to the product. I want to take a moment just to talk about security. JNIOR has a lot of features that give you control over the security of the unit. But today I want to just show you some very, very basic security points. It's an issue. A lot of these juniors, they go out of the office with default accounts, user accounts, and passwords. Very rarely do these get changed. And they make them onto the units make their way onto the open internet with those basic passwords, which is really a major security vulnerability. Luckily, those who would like to fool around and hack into units haven't really tracked down the juniors and caused anyone real grief. It's really a potential. So what I'd like to do is just show you how to change the passwords, the basic passwords. Let's go over to the desktop. Now over here we're going to run the support tool. You don't need the support tool to do this. We're going to go into the command console, but I will use this. This is the unit that we were just looking at, sitting over there under the camera. And in the telnet session, I will log in. The administrator account, the default administrator account is JNIOR, and it's the same JNIOR for the password. Bingo, we're in. Now, there are a number of log files that are created by the unit ongoing. For instance, this JNIOR sys log gives you a system level log. If I were to cat that, and I'll demonstrate here hitting tab as it cycles through the various files that started with J, this is the one we want to see. There was quite a bit in here, and we could have just shown the last page with an option. But I wanted to show you here that if I go back a little bit, there's a pair of warnings right there. Periodically, not all the time, maybe every 8 power on. The junior will check to see if you've left the default administrator accounts and remind you that you should change the passwords, or the default accounts actually. So what accounts are there? Well, there's a users command, and that'll list the users. On this unit, by default, there's an admin account, there's a guest account, which is disabled. There's a junior account and a user account. The user account is also disabled. Now, there are really 3 levels of security, and the administrator, of course, can do anything on the unit, which is really a concern. A user, or whatever account you give control to, that's not an administrator, is restricted in what they can do. They can't change the basic configuration of a unit, but they can control the outputs and inputs. Depending on your application, you may want to do that. And a guest can really only see what's going on, can't change anything. Today, I want to point out that these 2 administrative accounts, the default accounts, are really security vulnerabilities if you're going to put your junior on the open network. First of all, you don't need 2 administrator accounts. Why are there 2? Because admin is really typically one that you expect to be there. Most of your routers come and it has an admin account. But for the longest time we used junior as the admin account for a junior. So they're both available for those people that prefer one over the other. So first, I'm going to get rid of the admin account. Well, not get rid of it. I'm not going to delete it. I'm going to just set it so it's disabled. Yeah, I could delete it, and that would be fine. But with the Series 4 juniors and JNIOR, you can disable an account. That'll let you later be able to re-enable the account. So you don't really have to get rid of it. You can recreate it. Whatever the password was originally whatever files are associated with it, that account would remain present. It just won't be, you won't be able to use it for login. So you use the user mod, and I want to add the disabled flag to the admin user. Admin status modified. Now let's use the user's command to see what we had here. And now you see I've disabled the admin account. So now we only have one vulnerability, and that's the junior account. And it's a vulnerability because it's using the default password, junior. I'm going to give it a new password. How do we do that? We use the password command. It asks for the current password. Yes, I know you logged in with that password, but you might have walked away from the terminal. It's just extra security. If you don't know what the default or the current password is for the account, you shouldn't be able to put a new one on it. So it's JNIOR in this case, and so then it says enter a new password. Well, I can give you the whole story. Hey, you know, use upper and lower case, use some numbers, use characters. You know, you have to have a secure. The junior does not force you to use any of those things. They're good ideas, especially if you're going to be on the open network. Like, don't use the word password as the password, or 1, 2, 3, 4. If you've ever watched the malicious attempts to log in, and I've watched them on the junior, these bots keep trying all these default passwords to get into a unit. Those are among the first that are tried. So no, even admin, you don't use any of those words. Pick a word that someone wouldn't guess, and maybe even make that word start with a lowercase character and have an uppercase character second, or some weird pattern, so that the bot won't have any chance of guessing it, or a very slight chance of guessing it. I'm going to enter a password here without telling you what it is, just to indicate. Now the password has been changed. Okay, now I could exit this command session and attempt to reconnect to that unit. Let me show you a different way to get into the command session while we're doing this. Let's go to this unit's web page. This will bring up the default dynamic control configuration pages, which are done in HTML5. Now I have to use the new account. Wouldn't be able to log in with Junior, and I hear JNIOR. No, JNIOR, and my new password is trees. JNIOR TREES. And let us in. Now, dynamic control pages, we can talk about that sometime in the future, but the reason I came in here is to show you that you can actually get into the command console without the telnet using this. JNIOR. Nope, that won't work. JNIOR Bing TREES. Bingo. Again, let's look at the syslog. And I only looked at the last page. Bang. So you get, you can see what a system log has in there. Okay, so I failed to log in because I mistyped Junior. Surprisingly, I typed Junior a lot, and it's amazingly easy to goof. Here indicates that the password change was successful. So you can get quite a bit of information out of these logs just to know what's going on with your unit. Now, there's a reason people use Junior, because it's, the default from the beginning. It's easy to remember, and if you're not connected to the open network, you can leave it easy to remember. So I put it back to the JNIOR default password using this console. We're done with the session, so clear it. So the recommendation really is, when you have your unit, if you really, really, really are have to put it on the open network, very first thing you need to do is to change the default passwords. Use a unique password that was highly unlikely that would be considered a default password for anybody else, and at least secure your unit that way. In addition to that, some point down the road, I'll show you how to disable some of the various other means of connecting to the unit. For instance, let's go back into Telnet here, and I can use default password now. If you look at netstat, these are the connections, you'll see that there's open servers on port 21, that's the FTP port, on the junior protocol port, that's 9200, on the web port 80, in HTTPS, the secure web port 443, and also on 23, which is Telnet. So all of these ports would be open on the network, and you probably don't need them all open on the network. So at some point down the line here, I can show you how to disable these various ports, or how to force everything to be an encrypted socket. Yes, Junior can do SSL secure sockets, even on the Telnet connection, which is not typically standard. You might need to get an app for us to do that kind of Telnet connection. But it does start out in TLS with that. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you today.